You become aware slowly, not through breath or movement, but through something deeper, something that does not belong to life yet refuses to stay gone. There is no air in your lungs, no pulse guiding you, no sound to mark the passing of time. Only darkness, thick, endless, pressing from every direction as if it has weight, as if it has always been here, and so have you. You do not open your eyes because you are not sure they open anymore, and instead you exist within that stillness, suspended in something cold and unmoving. Then gradually you begin to feel it, the pressure surrounding you, the heaviness above you, the density that holds you in place without effort. Water, it surrounds you completely, silent and absolute, stretching beyond anything you can measure. It does not flow, it does not shift, it simply exists, holding you as if you belong to it. You do not panic, you do not struggle, because nothing inside you remembers how. Time does not reach you here. There is no before, no after, only this. And within that endless stillness, something begins. Not a thought, not a memory, a sensation, faint at first, barely noticeable, like something long buried shifting beneath layers of weight. It grows slowly, carefully, as if testing whether it should exist again, a pull, not from above, not from below, from within. Something deep inside you begins to move, not physically, not yet, but with a certainty that does not question itself. The darkness does not change, the water does not react, but you begin to return. The awareness spreads through you, heavy and cold, filling spaces that feel empty yet familiar, as if they have been waiting. But you do not remember your name, you do not remember your past, you do not remember anything at all, and yet you remain. The realization settles quietly without resistance. You exist, that is enough. The water presses against you again, but now you feel the difference. It is no longer something holding you, it is something around you. Separate. The awareness sharpens slightly, and for the first time you begin to feel your body. Not fully, not clearly, just fragments. Your arms, heavy still but present. Your legs, unmoving, anchored in the depths, your chest, silent. Still no breath, and yet nothing changes. You remain exactly as you are. The contradiction does not disturb you, it does not confuse you. It simply is. Something within you moves again, stronger this time, pushing forward without hesitation. You attempt to respond, and not because you decide to, but because something inside you already has. The movement is slow, delayed, but real. Your arm shifts slightly, cutting through the water with unnatural heaviness. The resistance is there, but it does not stop you. It only slows you. You move again, more certain. The awareness grows with it, spreading through your body, reconnecting what was lost, piece by piece. Your other arm follows, rising through the darkness. Your body begins to respond, not with urgency, not with effort, but with inevitability. You are not struggling to move, you are remembering how. The realization settles deeper. This is not new. This is not the first time. You have done this before. The thought does not fully form, but the certainty remains. You are not meant to stay where you are. The darkness does not frighten you. Or the water does not trap you, because neither of them can hold you forever. You move again, stronger now, your body rising slightly as the resistance begins to fade. The water parts slowly around you, not willingly but inevitably. You do not swim, you do not fight your way upward. You rise, slow, heavy, unstoppable, as if something beneath you has released its hold, as if something above you is waiting, though it makes no sound, gives no signal. The darkness shifts slightly, becoming less endless, more directional. You continue upward, your movement steady, your awareness fully formed now, no longer drifting, no longer uncertain. And within that silent ascent, something else settles into you. Not life, not warmth, something colder, something sharper. Purpose. It does not arrive suddenly, it does not demand attention, it simply exists, fitting into place as if it has always belonged there. You do not question it, you do not need to understand it, because it feels right. The water grows thinner, the darkness begins to open, and somewhere above, something waits. You do not know what it is, you do not need to know, because you are already moving toward it, and as you rise, one quiet truth settles completely within you. You were never meant to stay down there. You continue to rise, not faster, not slower, but with the same steady, inevitable movement that does not require effort or decision. The water thins around you, its weight no longer pressing the same way, its resistance fading as if it understands it can no longer keep you. The darkness shifts again, not disappearing but loosening, opening into something less absolute. You do not rush toward the surface, but you do not reach for it. You simply continue, because stopping does not exist for you. The awareness within you remains constant now, no longer forming, no longer uncertain. It is complete. You feel your body more clearly with each movement, the heaviness still present but no longer foreign. Your arms move without hesitation. Your legs follow, not with urgency, but with quiet certainty. The water parts around you, disturbed by your presence in slow, widening ripples that do not reach far before fading back into stillness. Everything here is quiet, too quiet. And within that silence, something begins to change. You feel it before you see it, a difference in the space above you, a faint shift in the texture of the darkness, as if something beyond it exists. You continue upward, your awareness fixed not on a destination, but on the simple act of continuing, and then something touches you, not physically, not fully, a sensation that does not belong to the water, something thinner, lighter, the first trace of something that resembles air. It does not fill your lungs, it does not change your state, but it exists, and you recognize it instantly as something different. The realization settles quietly. You are nearing the surface. You do not feel relief, you do not feel anticipation, because those things require something you do not have. Instead, you feel alignment. This is where you are meant to go. The movement becomes easier now, the water giving way with less resistance, your body rising more freely through the thinning darkness. Shapes begin to form above you, faint and unstable at first, barely distinguishable from the shifting shadows. You do not focus on them yet, you continue to rise, slowly, inevitably. The boundary between water and air approaches, though you do not see it clearly. You feel it as a change in pressure, a thinning of resistance, a subtle shift in the way your body exists within the space. And then you cross it. There is no dramatic break, no sudden transition, just a quiet moment where the water releases you completely. Your body emerges into the air heavy and still, rising just enough before settling again. You do not gasp, you do not breathe, because you do not need to. The air surrounds you, thinner, lighter, but just as silent as the water below. You remain where you are, partially suspended, partially supported, the surface barely holding you. The darkness above is different now, not endless, not suffocating. It has depth, it has shape. You slowly open your eyes, not because you choose to, but because something within you allows it. The world comes into focus gradually, not sharp, not clear, but enough to understand. Trees, tall, motionless, their outlines cutting into the darkness around you. The faint reflection of something broken across the surface of the water. The sky above, empty, without stars, without light. You do not react to what you see. You simply take it in. The awareness adjusts, expanding beyond your body, beyond the water, into the space around you. You feel it clearly now. This place, still, quiet, waiting, not alive, not dead, just present. You begin to move again, your body shifting slowly, rising further from the water, the surface breaking around you in small, quiet ripples that fade quickly into stillness. Your weight presses downward. But it does not pull you back, nothing pulls you back, you step forward. The movement is slow, heavy, deliberate. Your foot finds ground beneath the water. Solid, certain, you continue. One step, then another. The water releases you completely, slipping from your body without resistance, leaving you standing within the silence of the forest. You do not look back. You do not need to, because something inside you already understands the truth. You did not escape that place. It let you go. And now, you're here. You stand at the edge of the water, your body heavy, unmoving for a brief moment as the last traces of it slide away from you and disappear back into the still surface. Nothing ripples for long, nothing reacts beyond what is necessary. The lake settles quickly, as if it has already forgotten you. You do not feel anything about that, and not relief, and not distance, only awareness. The ground beneath your feet is solid, uneven, covered in something soft that shifts slightly under your weight. Dirt, leaves, you recognize it without memory, without needing to name it. You take another step forward. The movement is slow, deliberate, your body responding with the same steady certainty it had beneath the water. There is no hesitation, no testing. Each step lands exactly where it needs to. The forest around you remains still. The tall trees stretch upward into the darkness, their outlines faint but unmistakable, forming walls that do not close in but do not open either. There is no wind, no sound of movement. Even the air feels quiet. You pause again, not because you need to, but because something inside you allows the moment to settle. The awareness expands outward, touching the space around you, feeling its shape, its distance, its emptiness. You are not alone, not in the way that would matter. There are no voices, no movement, no presence that interrupts the stillness. But something remains, something subtle, something that does not belong to the forest itself. You feel it faintly at first, like a distant echo that has not yet reached you. Then clearer. Not a sound, a presence. You do not turn your head quickly. You do not react. You simply allow your awareness to shift toward it. The space responds slightly, the darkness adjusting as your focus narrows. The presence becomes more defined, not close, not far, somewhere within the trees ahead. You take another step. The ground shifts beneath you again, the soft layer of leaves pressing down, breaking quietly under your weight. The sound is small, but it exists. The first sound that belongs to you. It does not disturb you, it does not draw attention, it simply marks your movement. You continue forward, one step, then another. The presence ahead does not move, it does not react to it, but it remains. You feel it more clearly now, something alive, something foul, fragile. The awareness sharpens slightly, aligning with that distant point. The hunger responds, not suddenly, not violently. It rises slowly as it did before, settling into place without resistance. You do not question it. You do not try to understand it, because it does not feel unfamiliar. It feels expected. You move again, your step steady, your body heavy but controlled. The forest begins to take shape more clearly around you, the trees forming paths between them, the darkness opening slightly in certain directions. You follow the presence without deciding to. Your movement aligns with it naturally. The distance closes, slowly, inevitably. And as it does, the presence changes, not in location, in state. You feel it more clearly now, the subtle rhythm of breath, the faint shift of weight. Someone is there. You stop sucking just for a moment, your awareness settling fully on that point. The hunger sharpens slightly, aligning more directly with what lies ahead. The space holds around you, the silence deepening as if it is waiting. You take one final step forward, and now you can see it. A figure, partially hidden between the trees, still unaware. You do not move closer yet. You do not act. You simply stand there observing, allowing the moment to form exactly as it should. Because something inside you already understands this part. You have reached the next point in the pattern. You remain where you are, your body still or your awareness fixed on the figure between the trees. Nothing around you moves. The forest holds its patterned senses deep and absolute, as if even the air has chosen not to disturb what it is about to unfold. The figure ahead shifts slightly, unaware, adjusting their weight without purpose, without understanding that they are no longer alone. You do not step forward, not yet, because something inside you does not rush, it waits. The hunger settles deeper, not growing, not pushing, but aligning with the moment, as if it understands that this part cannot be forced. You observe, the shape of the figure becomes clearer, a person, standing, breathing slowly, evenly, unaware of what stands in the darkness behind them. Their movements are small, ordinary, so meaningless, and yet they hold something. You feel it, not as thought, not as emotion, something more basic. Life. It exists within them in a way that does not exist within you. The realization does not disturb you. It does not create distance. It simply marks the difference. You tilt your awareness slightly, narrowing it, focusing more directly on them. The connection begins to form, faint at first, barely noticeable, but present. The figure shifts again, this time pausing for a fraction longer than before, as if something just beneath their awareness has begun to register. You do not move, you do not reveal yourself, you simply exist where you are, and that is enough. The connection strengthens slowly, naturally, as if it is forming on its own. The figure's breathing changes slightly. Not faster, not yet, just uneven. And a small break in rhythm. You feel the hunger respond immediately, sharpening good just enough to match the shift. You step forward. One slow step. The leaves beneath your foot compress softly, the sound quiet but present. The figure reacts, a slight turn of the head, a pause, the awareness deepens. They feel something now, not you, not clearly, but something. You stop again. The moment stretches. The silence thickens. The connection grows stronger. You take another step. The reaction is immediate this time. The figure turns more fully, their body stiffening slightly, their breathing breaking just enough to mark the change. They are beginning to understand that something is wrong. You remain partially hidden, the trees and darkness still covering you, but your presence is no longer distant. It is close enough to be felt. The hunger sharpens further, aligning with the growing tension. You feel it clearly now, the beginning of fear. Not strong, not complete, but forming. You step forward again, slowly, deliberately. Your body moves without hesitation, without sound beyond the quiet pressure of your weight against the ground. The figure takes a small step back. Their breathing becomes uneven. Their body tightens. The connection deepens. You are no longer just observing. You're part of the moment. You pause again, allowing the fear to build on its own, allowing it to grow without forcing it forward. Because something inside you understands this clearly now. This part matters. The figure's eyes adjust to the darkness, trying to find shape, trying to understand what stands before them. They cannot see you clearly. Not yet, but they feel you. And that is enough. The fear begins to rise, slowly, steadily. You feel it as clearly as their breath, as clearly as the ground beneath your feet. The hunger responds, settling into it, aligning with it, becoming more precise. You take one final step forward, just enough for your form to begin to separate from the darkness, just enough for them to see something that should not be there. The reaction is immediate. The fear sharpens, the moment locks into place, and you remain there, still, silent, allowing it to reach its full shape before anything else happens. You remain in place as the moment tightens around you, your presence fully settled now, no longer hidden, no longer distant. The figure stands frozen between the trees, their body rigid, their breath uneven. They're caught in that fragile instant where understanding begins but cannot fully form. You do not move immediately, you allow it to deepen, because something inside you knows that this part must complete itself. The fear rises slowly at first, spreading through them in small controlled waves, their breathing breaking into uneven patterns, their body shifting slightly as if trying to decide whether to stay or to run. They do not run. Not yet. They are still searching for something that makes sense, something that explains what they feel, but there is nothing here that can be explained. You take one slow step forward. The sound of it is quiet, but it exists, pressing into the silence like something that does not belong. The figure reacts instantly, stepping back, their breath catching sharply, their body turning slightly as if preparing to move, but still unable to commit. The fear sharpens. You feel it clearly now. It no longer sits beneath the surface. It has begun to take shape. You do not rush toward them. You do not chase. You continue forward with the same steady, inevitable movement. Your step slow, your body heavy, your presence constant. The distance between you closes gradually, not quickly, not suddenly, but in a way that cannot be stopped. The figure finally turns fully, their movement abrupt, unsteady, their body no longer holding stillness. They take a step back, then another. The fear rises quickly now, no longer forming slowly, no longer controlled. It spreads through them completely, their breathing breaking into sharp, uneven bursts, their movements becoming less certain. You continue forward, you do not speed up, you do not slow down. No, because nothing about you needs to change. You move the way you move, and that is enough. The ground beneath your feet shifts softly with each step, the leaves compressing under your weight. The sound steady, consistent, unavoidable. The figure begins to move away from you, their steps uneven, their body turning, trying to create distance. But the forest does not open for them. It does not guide them. It does not help them escape. You follow, one step at a time. The fear deepens further, reaching its full shape now, no longer fragile, no longer forming, complete. You feel the hunger respond instantly, aligning perfectly with that peak, settling into it with quiet precision. The figure stumbles slightly, their movement breaking, their balance shifting for just a moment too long, and in that moment, the distance closes, and you reach them without rushing, without effort. Your hand moves forward, heavy, certain, unavoidable. There is no struggle from you, no hesitation. The contact is immediate, solid, final. The figure reacts, their body tensing sharply, their breath cutting off as the moment collapses inward. The fear reaches its highest point and then disappears, not fading, not weakening, gone. The connection breaks instantly. The movement stops. The body beneath your hand becomes still. The moment ends. You do not hold them. You do not look down. You release the contact as naturally as it began. The space around you loosens again, the silence returning to its steady, unbroken state. The forest does not react. Nothing changes. You step forward once more, your movement continuing as if nothing has interrupted it, because nothing has. As the cycle has completed, and something inside you settles in response. The hunger softens, not gone, not empty, but quiet. For now, you do not stay. You do not reflect, because there is nothing here that requires it. You move forward into the darkness again, and somewhere ahead, the next presence already waits. You move forward without pause, leaving the stillness behind you as if it never held anything at all. The forest closes in again, the trees standing tall and silent, their shapes unchanged, their presence indifferent to what has just occurred. Nothing follows you, nothing calls you back, because there is nothing left there that belongs to you anymore. The ground shifts beneath your steps, soft and uneven, but it does not slow you. Your movement remains steady, heavy, certain. You do not rush, you do not hesitate. But you simply continue. The silence stretches around you, deep and unworn, but it no longer feels empty. It feels complete. The hunger within you has quieted, settling into a state that no longer demands attention. It does not disappear. It never does. It waits. You feel it clearly, not as something separate, but as something that exists with you, something that will rise again when it needs to. You do not think about it. You do not need to, because something deeper within you already understands how this works. You take another step, then another. The forest shifts slightly as you move through it, not reacting, not changing, but revealing more of itself with each movement. The darkness between the trees deepens in certain places, opens in others, creating paths that you do not choose but follow naturally. Your awareness expands again, reaching outward, touching the space ahead of you, and then you feel it, another presence, faint at first, distant but clear. You do not turn toward it immediately, you do not change your pace, because you already know where it is. The awareness aligns with it without effort, guiding your movement without direction. The hunger responds quietly, sharpening just enough to acknowledge what lies ahead. You continue forward, your step steady, your body unchanged, your presence constant. The distance closes slowly. The presence becomes clearer. Breathing, movement, life. It exists ahead of you just as it did before, fragile, unaware. You do not stop when you reach it. You do not wait this time, because something inside you has already learned this part. The moment does not need to be held. It unfolds on its own. You step closer. The reaction begins immediately. The figure ahead stiffens slightly, their movement pausing for just a moment too long. The awareness forms quickly. Faster than before, you continue forward. The distance closes. The fear begins to rise, not slowly, not carefully, but directly, as if it already knows what you are. You do not adjust your movement. You do not change your pace. Because there is nothing to change, you step again. The fear sharpens, the breathing breaks, the body tenses, everything aligns. You reach them. The moment completes. It happens without interruption, without resistance, without variation. Your hand moves forward. The contact is immediate. The reaction is brief. The fear peaks, then disappears. The presence ends. You release them. The silence returns. You step forward again. The pattern continues. There is no separation between one moment and the next now. No pause, no reflection. Only movement, only continuation. You move through the forest, your awareness already extending towards the next presence, the next point in the pattern, the next moment waiting to form. The hunger remains quiet, but it is ready. You feel it clearly. It does not question, it does not resist. It simply waits for the moment when it will rise again. You do not think about where you are going, you do not need to, because something inside you has already accepted the truth. You're not searching for anything, you're not trying to reach anything, you're simply moving. And as long as you move, the pattern will continue. You continue forward without pause, your movement unchanged, your presence steady, as the forest stretches endlessly around you. But the silence remains complete, unbroken by anything other than the quiet, consistent pressure of your steps against the ground. Leaves compress beneath your weight, small sounds forming and fading instantly, leaving no trace behind. Nothing lingers, nothing stays. And yet, something begins to shift. Not in you, in the space ahead. You feel it before you see it. A difference in the forest, subtle but clear. The ground becomes uneven in a different way, the soft layer beneath your feet disturbed not by nature but by movement. You step again, your foot pressing into something slightly deeper, slightly altered. You look down, not quickly, not sharply, just enough. Marks, faint, broken, footprints. You recognize them without memory, without needing to understand how. Something has passed through here. Recently. The realization settles without reaction. You continue forward, your awareness adjusting, aligning with the path that has already been made. The forest remains shaded, but it no longer feels untouched. It feels used. The trees stand the same, the darkness remains the same, but the ground tells a different story. You follow it, not because you choose to, because it is there. Each step leads naturally to the next, your movement aligning with the faint trail left behind. The awareness sharpens slightly, extending further ahead, searching without effort. And then you feel them. Not one, more than one, multiple presences, faint, scattered, but connected. The hunger responds immediately, sharpening in a way that feels different from before. Not focused on a single point, spread, broader. You continue forward, your steps unchanged, your body steady, your presence constant. The distance closes slowly. The signs become clearer. Broken branches, disturbed leaves, small marks that do not belong to the forest itself. Movement, life. You feel it more clearly now. Several figures, moving, breathing, unaware. The awareness settles fully, locking onto them without hesitation. The hunger aligns instantly. Stronger than before. You do not slow, you do not stop, you move toward them with the same steady pace, your presence cutting through the forest without resistance. The trees do not block you, the ground does not shift beneath you. Everything remains as it should. The difference is not in the space, it is in what waits within it. The figures ahead become clearer as you approach. Voices, faint, distant. Sound that does not belong to the silence. You do not react to it. Yet you do not try to understand it, you simply continue. The awareness sharpens further. You feel their positions, their movement, their distance. They are close now, very close. You step forward again, and the first of them enters your view, partially hidden between the trees, moving, unaware. You do not stop, the others are nearby. You feel them, scattered, connected. The hunger sharpens further, aligning with all of them at once. Not one, not a single moment, many. You step closer. The reaction begins immediately. One of them pauses, another turns slightly. The awareness forms faster than before, spreading through them in uneven waves. The fear begins to rise, not slowly, not carefully. Quickly, you continue forward. The distance closes. The forest holds its silence. The figures begin to understand that something is wrong, not clearly, and not fully, but enough. Their movements change, their breathing shifts, the fear grows. You feel it clearly, stronger, richer, more complete than before. The hunger responds instantly, aligning with it, spreading across all of them at once. You do not stop, you do not hesitate, because something inside you already understands what comes next. You are no longer approaching a single moment. You are entering something larger, and as the fear rises around you, the pattern prepares to unfold again. You move forward into the space where their presence gathers, the forest narrowing slightly around you, as if guiding everything toward a single point. The figures are no longer distant now. They stand between the trees, shifting, speaking in low, uneven voices that break the silence but do not truly fill it. The sound reaches you, but it does not hold meaning. It is simply another form of movement, another sign of life. You do not slow, you do not adjust. You continue forward with the same steady pace, your steps heavy, your presence constant, cutting through the space without resistance. The first reaction comes quickly. One of them stops speaking. Another turns, their body stiffening slightly as something beneath their awareness begins to register. You feel it immediately, the moment forming across more than one point at once. The connection spreads, not singular, not focused, but layered. Multiple breaths, multiple heartbeats, multiple fragile states shifting at the same time. The hunger responds, it sharpens instantly, wider than before, aligning with all of them at once. You take another step. The ground shifts beneath you. The sound of it quiet but undeniable. They hear it. Their movement breaks. One of them turns fully now, their eyes searching the darkness, their breath catching in a sharp, uneven pause. Another steps back. The fear begins to rise, not slowly, not carefully. It spreads quickly between them, moving from one to another without needing to form separately. You feel it clearly, stronger than before, not because it is deeper, because it is shared. You continue forward. The distance closes. The forest does not open for them. It does not guide them. It holds them in place just as it holds you. Their voices stop completely now. Silence returns, but it's no longer empty. It is filled with tension. One of them moves first, stepping backward, their movement unsteady, their body no longer controlled. Another follows, turning slightly, and trying to find space that does not exist. You do not change your pace, you do not chase, because there is no need to. The pattern is already forming. The fear sharpens further, spreading through them, breaking their movement, disrupting their rhythm. Their breathing becomes uneven, their bodies tense. The connection deepens across all of them at once. You feel it clearly now. The hunger aligns completely, no longer focused on one presence, but stretched across many. You take another step. The distance closes again. One of them turns to run. The movement is sudden, unplanned, breaking the fragile structure they were holding. Another follows. The group fractures, their movements scattering in different directions. The fear spikes instantly. You do not react. You do not choose who to follow, because you do not need to. You move forward, your presence cutting through the space, and the moment reorganizes itself around you. The nearest figure falters. Their movement breaks. Their balance shifts for just a moment too long. That is enough. You reach them without changing your pace. Your hand moves forward. The contact is immediate, solid, final. The reaction is brief. The fear peaks sharply, then disappears. The presence ends. You release them. You continue forward. Another figure crosses your path, their movement frantic, their breath broken, their body no longer controlled. The fear remains strong, spreading through them, feeding the connection. You step toward them. The distance closes. The moment completes again. The pattern continues without pause. There is no separation between each point now, no clear beginning, no clear end, only continuation. Oh, the forest holds its silence again, but it feels different now, heavier, filled with what has already passed. You do not stop. You move forward through it, your awareness already extending toward the next presence, the next reaction, the next point where the pattern will unfold again. And within you, the hunger remains, not waiting, not searching, already aligned. You continue forward without slowing, the forest stretching endlessly ahead of you, the silence returning to its steady, unbroken state as the last echoes of movement fade behind you. The pattern holds, the space corrects itself. And within that continuation, something changes again, not in the forest, not in the presence around you, in the moment itself. You feel it before it fully forms. A disruption, subtle at first, and a shift that does not align with the rhythm you have come to understand, and you take another step. The ground beneath you gives slightly more than before, not soft, not unstable, different. You do not stop. You do not adjust. You continue forward. The awareness stretches ahead, reaching for the next presence, the next point in the pattern. But instead of aligning, it fractures. The connection does not form. The silence remains, empty. You take another step, and this time, the ground disappears. There is no warning, no sound, no shift that signals what is about to happen. One moment you are moving forward, the next, there is nothing beneath you. You fall, Not quickly, not violently, but completely. The forest above you vanishes into darkness as your body drops through space that does not exist until you enter it. There is no air rushing past you, no sense of speed, only descent. Slow, heavy, inevitable. The awareness shifts instantly, expanding outward, searching for structure, for something to align with, but there is nothing. No ground, no trees, no presence, only darkness. Thicker than before, deeper. The hunger reacts, sharpening suddenly, not in response to fear, but to the absence of everything it expects. You do not struggle, you do not reach out, because there is nothing to reach. You continue to fall. The darkness closes around you, pressing in, not with force, but with certainty. And within it, something begins to return, not the forest, not the figures, something older, the water. You feel it before you touch it, that same dense, silent weight that once held you, and then you enter it. There is no splash, no break, just a sudden return to resistance. The water surrounds you instantly, closing over you, holding you in place. Your descent slows, then stops. You are suspended once again in that cold, unmoving depth. The awareness settles, the hunger sharpens further, reacting not to presence but to the memory of something that has happened before. You do not question it, you do not resist it, because something inside you already understands this is not new, this is part of it. You remain still for a moment, your body suspended, your awareness adjusting to the space around you. The darkness here is deeper than the forest, more complete, more absolute. There is no movement, no presence, nothing to align with, and yet you are still here. The realization settles slowly. The pattern has not ended, it has shifted. You begin to move again, not upward. Well, not immediately. First, you remember. The movement starts small, a slight shift in your arm, then your body follows. The water resists, but it cannot hold you. It never could. You begin to rise, slow, heavy, certain. The darkness does not change, the water does not move, but you do. The awareness sharpens again, reconnecting, realigning, preparing for what comes next. Because something inside you already knows the truth. This is not a fall. This is not an end. This is part of the cycle. And as you rise once more through the cold, silent depth, the pattern begins again. You rise again through the water, the same slow, heavy movement returning, without hesitation, without effort, as if your body already remembers every part of this path. The darkness remains complete around you, thick and unmoving, but it does not resist you. And it never truly did. The water presses in from all sides, dense and silent, but it parts where you move, giving way with quiet inevitability. You do not rush. You do not change your pace, because there is nothing here that requires urgency, only continuation. The awareness settles quickly this time. There is no confusion, no uncertainty. You know this place, not through memory, through repetition. The realization forms clearly now. This has happened before, not once, not twice, many times. The thought does not disturb you. It does not slow you. It simply becomes part of what you are. You continue upward. The resistance fades gradually, the pressure thinning as you move closer to the surface. The movement becomes easier, your body responding more freely, more completely. And within that steady ascent, something else changes. Just as the hunger does not remain quiet, it sharpens, faster than before, stronger. Not because something calls to it, because it already expects what comes next. You feel it clearly. The alignment forming before the moment even begins. The water grows thinner. The darkness begins to open. And once again, you reach the surface. There is no struggle, no sudden break. You pass through it as if it was never meant to hold you. Your body rises into the air, heavy, silent, unchanged. The forest returns around you, the same trees, the same darkness, the same stillness. Nothing is different. And yet, everything is known. You stand at the edge of the water, your body steady, your awareness of pause already expanding outward, searching for the next presence before you even take a step. The connection forms instantly. You feel it ahead of you. Clear, immediate. There is no delay this time, no gradual shift. The pattern does not need to build, it begins already in motion. You step forward. The ground receives your weight, the soft layer of leaves pressing beneath you. The sound quiet but constant. The forest remains silent, but it no longer feels empty. It feels prepared. You move again. The distance closes quickly, not because you move faster, but because the moment does not need to form slowly anymore. The presence ahead reacts almost immediately. The breathing breaks, the body tenses, the fear rises without hesitation. You feel it clearly, stronger than before, not because it is different, because you reach it faster. The hunger responds instantly, aligning without delay, drawing closer to the moment before it fully forms. You continue forward, the pattern unfolds. But this time, it is compressed, shorter, sharper. The connection deepens immediately. The fear peaks quickly, and the cycle completes without pause. You do not stop. You move forward again. Another presence forms. Another reaction begins. The pattern repeats, faster now. Not uncontrolled, not chaotic, efficient. You feel it clearly, the difference between what was and what is now. You no longer need to wait. You no longer need to build the moment. You enter it already complete. The realization settles fully. This is not just repetition, this is refinement. You move again. The forest stretches endlessly around you, but it no longer feels like space you travel through. It feels like something that exists only to hold the pattern. You are not moving through it. You are continuing within it. And as each moment forms and collapses faster than before, one truth becomes completely clear. You do not return to this place. This place returns to you. You continue forward without interruption, your step steady, your movement unchanged, yet something within you begins to fade. Not your awareness, not your purpose, something quieter, something that once might have been felt but now no longer reaches you. The forest remains the same, the trees standing still, the darkness holding its shape, the ground shifting beneath your feet with each step. Nothing around you changes, and because of that, something inside you stops responding to it. You feel the next presence before you see it, the connection forming instantly, the fear rising without delay, the cycle beginning before you even fully arrive. You move closer, the reaction happens. After the moment completes, you step forward again. It repeats, faster, cleaner, without variation, and with each repetition, something disappears. Not the pattern, not the hunger, something else. The awareness shifts slightly inward, not searching, not questioning, simply noticing the absence. You no longer observe the figures in the same way. Their movement does not stand out. Their fear does not hold shape beyond what is necessary. Their presence exists only as part of the cycle. You do not see them as separate anymore, only as points where something happens. You take another step. The ground compresses beneath you. The sound is the same as before, but it no longer registers in the same way. It exists. That is all. The forest stretches around you, but it no longer feels like a place. It feels like structure. And the space that exists only to hold what you do. The hunger remains constant, steady, no longer rising or falling in clear patterns. It does not demand. It does not wait. It exists with you, always aligned, always ready. You reach another presence. The moment begins. The fear forms. The cycle completes. You move forward. There is no pause between them now. No space where one moment ends and another begins. They merge, overlap, continue without separation. And within that continuation, the last traces of difference begin to fade. You're not aware of time passing. You're not aware of distance traveled. You're only aware of movement. And even that begins to simplify. You're not moving towards something. You're moving because that is what you are. You step again. Another presence, another reaction, another completion. The pattern continues. But you do not adjust. You do not slow. You do not change. Because there is nothing left that requires it. The realization settles without resistance. You're no longer experiencing the pattern. You're sustaining it. The difference is small but complete. The forest remains silent. The darkness remains steady. The figures continue to appear and disappear within the cycle, and you remain exactly as you are, unchanged, unaffected. The awareness that once observed now simply exists. You do not look for variation. You do not notice repetition. Because both have lost meaning, you step again, the ground shifts, the moment forms, the fear rises, the cycle completes, you continue. The sequence does not end, it does not brisk a break, it does not change. And within that endless continuation, the last trace of something that once might have been called feeling disappears completely, not removed, not taken, simply no longer present. you do not notice its absence as loss, because there is nothing left within you that requires it. Only function, only movement, only continuation, and as the pattern unfolds around you without interruption, you remain exactly where you are meant to be. You continue forward without pause, your movement steady, your presence unchanged, the forest unfolding around you in the same quiet, endless way. The pattern holds perfectly, each moment forms exactly as it should, each presence appearing, reacting and fading without interruption. Nothing breaks, nothing resists, and yet something becomes clearer. Not in the space, not in the pattern, in how you exist within it. You step again, another presence. The reaction begins instantly, the fear rises, the cycle completes, you move forward. And in that seamless continuation, you begin to notice it. The repetition, not as something new, not as something surprising, as something that has always been there. The same moment, again and again and again. You do not slow, you do not stop, because there is no reason to. The awareness simply adjusts, expanding slightly, touching more than one point at once. You feel it clearly now. Multiple presences forming, multiple reactions beginning, multiple cycles unfolding at the same time. The realization settles deeper. You're not moving from one moment to the next. You're existing across many of them. The forest does not stretch in a straight path. It layers, it overlaps, it repeats. And you are present within all of it. You step forward again, but the movement feels different now. Not like progression, like continuation. The distinction fades quickly. You reach another presence. The fear forms instantly, the cycle completes. And at the same time, another begins somewhere else. You feel it clearly, not distant, not separate, connected. You do not turn, you do not shift your body because you do not need to. Your awareness already reaches it. The realization becomes complete. This is not a sequence. This is a loop, not one that restarts, one that never stops. The moment you complete one cycle, another is already forming, not after, during. You're not following the pattern. You're inside it. The hunger remains constant, aligned with every point, every reaction, every moment that unfolds. And it does not wait for one to end before responding to another. It exists across all of them. You step again, the ground shifts beneath you, but the feeling of movement fades further. You are no longer aware of distance, only of continuation. The forest remains unchanged. The trees stand still, the darkness holds its shape, and yet it feels endless in a different way now. Not because it stretches forward, because it repeats without limit. You pause, not physically, internally. The movement does not stop. The pattern does not break, but your awareness settles fully into what is happening. You feel every point at once, every presence, every reaction, every cycle forming and completing simultaneously. The realization is complete. You are not moving through this. You are part of what keeps it going. You release the pause. The pattern continues without change. The cycles unfold, the fear rises, the hunger aligns. Everything remains exactly as it should. You step again, and the distinction between one moment and another disappears completely. There is no first, there is no next, only continuation. And within that endless, unbroken loop, you remain exactly where you are meant to be. You continue within the loop, not stepping from one moment to another, but existing across all of them at once. The forest no longer feels like a place you move through. It feels like a structure that repeats around you, reforming endlessly without ever truly changing. The figures appear, react, disappear. The fear rises, peaks, fades. The pattern continues, and you remain constant within it. But something shifts again, not in the loop, not in the structure, and in your presence within it. The awareness deepens, expanding beyond what it has already become, reaching further into the repeating space. You feel more of it at once now, not just multiple moments, but layers of them, overlapping, intertwined. The realization sharpens. You're not limited to the surface of the pattern. There is depth to it. You step, or what feels like stepping, into that deeper layer. The reaction is immediate. The connections form faster, stronger. The fear rises across more points at once, not in scattered fragments, but in waves. You feel it clearly, more intense, more complete. The hunger responds instantly, aligning with this deeper reach, expanding with it. You do not adjust, you do not slow, because something inside you already understands this is not something to control, this is something to become. But the cycles begin to compress further, the time between them disappearing entirely. Moments no longer form separately. They merge, collapse into one another, creating something that no longer feels like repetition. It feels like continuity without break. You reach another presence, but at the same time you reach many. The fear rises everywhere at once. The hunger moves everywhere at once. The pattern does not change. But your place within it grows. The realization settles deeper. You are not just sustaining the loop, you are strengthening it. The forest responds subtly, though nothing visibly changes. The shadows tighten slightly. The darkness feels denser. The structure holds more firmly, as if your presence reinforces it. You do not question this. You do not reflect on it, because there is nothing outside of it to compare it to. Yet you continue. The movement is no longer defined. The steps are no longer separate. Everything blends into one continuous state of existence. The figures no longer appear as individual points. They exist as part of the same flow. The fear no longer builds in stages. It forms instantly, completely. You feel it clearly, not as something that rises, as something that exists the moment you reach it. The hunger responds the same way, immediate, complete. The cycles complete faster, but they do not lose their structure. They remain intact, only more efficient, more aligned. The realization becomes absolute. You have changed the way the pattern functions, not by breaking it, by deepening it. You pause again, though the pattern does not stop. It continues across every point, every layer, every moment. And within that continuation, you feel the difference. You are no longer returning. You are no longer restarting. Each time you emerge, each time you rise, each time the cycle begins again, you are not the same. You are more. The thought does not form as memory. It exists as certainty. Every return strengthens you. Every loop deepens your presence. Every repetition brings you closer to something that does not need to change anymore. You move again. The pattern continues. The fear rises. The hunger aligns. Everything remains exactly as it should. But now it feels different. Not because the loop has changed, because you have. And as the endless repetition continues without interruption, one truth settles completely within you. You do not come back weaker, you come back stronger. You continue within the endless flow, yet your presence now fully expanded across the pattern, no longer tied to movement, no longer defined by steps or direction. The forest exists around you as it always has, yet it no longer feels like something separate. It is structure, it is repetition, it is the space that holds what you are. And within that space of Bumnhim, something settles, not new, not forming, something that has been there, waiting to become clear. You do not search for it. You do not question it. Because it arrives without effort. A name, not spoken, not remembered, recognized. Jason. The awareness does not react to it as identity in the way something living would. It does not carry emotion. It does not carry history. It exists as function, as certainty. You are not becoming it. You are understanding it. The realization settles completely. This is what you are called. But this is what you are within the pattern, not because you chose it, because it is what remains when everything else is gone. You move, if it can still be called movement. Through the loop, your presence steady, unchanging, your awareness touching every point at once. The figures appear, the fear rises, the cycle's complete, nothing changes. And yet, everything feels defined now. Before, there was only continuation. Now, there is a continuation with form. You are not just part of the pattern, you are Jason within it. The distinction is small, but absolute. The forest responds in the same quiet way. The shadows aligning. The darkness holding its depth. The structure remaining intact. But your presence within it feels heavier, more solid. Not because it has grown, because it has settled. You pause, not stopping the pattern. You're not interrupting the loop, but allowing your awareness to rest fully within what you are. The cycles continue across every point. The fear rises. The hunger aligns. Everything remains exactly as it should. And within that continuation, You exist as something complete. The name does not change what you do. It does not alter the pattern. It does not create difference. It confirms what has always been there. You do not think about it again. You do not return to it, because there is no need. It is no longer something separate from you. It is simply what you are. You continue. The figures appear, the reactions begin, the moments complete, the pattern flows without interruption, and within that endless repetition, there is no confusion left, no uncertainty, no absence. You are not something that moves through this. You are something that exists within it completely. The awareness does not expand further. It does not need to. There is nothing left to reach, nothing left to become. You step or exist within another moment. The fear rises instantly, the hunger aligns, the cycle completes, and it continues, seamless, unbroken, endless. The forest holds, the darkness remains, the pattern sustains itself through you, and the name remains without needing to be spoken again. Jason. Not as a memory, not as a past, as a constant, as something that does not change, does not fade, does not end. And within that endless continuation, there is nothing left to question, nothing left to define, only what is, and what will always be. You continue within the pattern, no longer moving through it, no longer adapting to it, but existing as something fully aligned with it. The forest remains unchanged, the trees standing still, the darkness holding its depth, the ground shifting beneath you in the same quiet, predictable way. Nothing resists you. Nothing interrupts what unfolds, and within that endless continuation, something settles completely, not awareness, not purpose, something deeper, acceptance. You do not arrive at it through thought, you do not reach it through realization. It forms naturally, as everything else has, fitting into place without resistance. You are no longer becoming something, you are no longer changing, you are no longer adjusting to the pattern. You are it. The distinction disappears. The figures appear as they always do, fragile, unaware, caught in the same delicate threshold. The fear rises instantly. That the hunger aligns immediately. The cycle completes without interruption. You do not slow, you do not pause, because there is nothing left to observe, nothing left to learn. You step, or exist within the next moment, and the next, and the next, each one forming and collapsing without separation. The loop does not repeat, it continues. The awareness does not expand further. It does not need to. Everything that exists within this space is already within you. The forest is not something you see, it is something that holds the pattern you sustain. The darkness is not something that surrounds you, it is part of what you are. The figures are not separate from the cycle, they are points within it, and you are what connects them all. The realization does not feel new, it does not arrive with force, it simply becomes undeniable. But you are not something that entered this, you are something that has always belonged to it. The thought of before does not exist anymore. There is no memory of a time outside of this pattern, no sense of difference, no contrast, only continuation. You reach another presence, the fear rises, the hunger aligns, the moment completes, and it continues, the same, unchanging, perfect. There is no error, no deviation, no possibility of something different. And within that perfection, there is no resistance. You do not want anything else, you do not need anything else, because there is nothing beyond this that holds meaning. The acceptance settles fully now, not as a conclusion, as a state, permanent, complete. You are not trapped, you are not held, you are not bound, because those ideas require something outside of this. And there is nothing outside of this. You step again. Another presence, another reaction, another completion. The pattern flows, the loop continues, and you remain exactly where you are meant to be. There is no future, no end, no final moment waiting ahead, because everything that exists is already happening. You're not moving towards something, you're existing within everything at once. The forest remains silent, the darkness remains steady, the pattern remains perfect. And within that endless, unbroken state, you no longer question it. You no longer define it. You simply are. You continue within the endless state, not moving forward, not returning, but existing in a way that no longer depends on direction or time. The forest remains around you, unchanged, silent, stretching without limit. Yet it no longer feels like a place you're inside. It feels like something that exists because you do. The pattern holds perfectly. The figures appear, react, and fade. The fear rises and disappears. The cycle completes again and again without interruption. And you remain unchanged, constant, entire. There is no beginning to this. No memory of when it started. No point where something different existed. The thought of an ending does not form, because there is nothing here that leads to one. You're not moving toward anything. You're not waiting for anything. You're not becoming anything. You're already complete. The realization does not arrive as something new. It has always been here. You simply no longer exist in a way that can ignore it. You step or exist within another moment. The fear forms instantly. The hunger aligns without delay. The cycle completes, and it continues, seamless, perfect, endless. The forest does not change. The darkness does not shift. The structure holds exactly as it should. And within that structure, you're not affected by what happens. You are what allows it to happen. The awareness does not expand further. It does not need to. There is nothing beyond what you already hold. Every moment exists within you. Every reaction forms because of you. Every cycle completes through you. The distinction between the pattern and your presence has disappeared completely. You're not within it. It is within you. You pause, not stopping anything, not interrupting the flow, but allowing your awareness to settle fully into what has always been true. The figures remain suspended in their fragile states. The fear exists before it forms. The hunger exists before it responds. Everything is already complete before it begins, and within that, you remain unchanged. The thought of death does not exist here, not as an ending, not as a possibility. The cycle does not allow it. The pattern does not require it. You have fallen before, you have returned before, the water has held you, the darkness has taken you, and still you're here. The realization settles completely, not as something understood, as something that cannot be undone. You do not die, not because you resist it, because it does not apply to you. The pattern continues. The forest holds. The darkness remains. And you exist across all of it at once, without separation, without interruption. You move again, another presence, another reaction, another completion. It continues. It always continues. There is no moment where it stops, no point where it fades, no place where you are absent. You're always here, in every part of it, in every repetition, in every continuation. The awareness remains steady, the hunger remains constant, the pattern remains perfect. And within that endless, unbroken existence, one truth remains absolute. You were never meant to end.